Hi everyone, my name is Nitya, and you are at my Flosstube channel, Daybreak Stitchery. This is a channel all about cross stitch, and this end of the month kind of snuck up on me a little bit, but here we are. At the end of the month, if you're new to my channel, hi. My name is Nitya, and I put the pronunciation of my name in the description of all my videos and on my Instagram page too. So if you're ever curious or can't remember how to pronounce Nitya, because I know it's unfamiliar to you, it's down there. My pronouns are she, her, and the end of the month is usually when I just kind of check in and show you what I've been stitching on today. So, hi, it's good to see you. Hope everybody's been having a good month. I'm back at school, so that's where my brain is for the most part, but it's just so nice to carve it. It's like extra special now to carve out time to do floss tubes because it's just exciting. It's like, yes, we get like just that little corner of time during my weekend when I get to talk cross stitch and connect with fellow stitchers. And so thank you. Thank you for being here to watch, and thank you for the comments that you leave. I love that. I'm super behind on responding on comments, but thank you so much for leaving them. I feel like that's created such a great connection with other stitchers. Some of my stitchy friends who I've made have like started out through comments on this floss tube. So, or like messages that people send me on Instagram. So it's just so nice. It's been a really nice way to connect with you. Today's kind of exciting. We're doing an unusual thing where in my community, we have an arts festival once a year where residents can offer up their garages. So they volunteer to clean out their garages. And then for an afternoon and an evening, you host a local artist in your garage, and they can like use your space as their like little studio space for an afternoon and an evening. So we volunteer, my partner Steve and I, we volunteered because with just the two of us, we don't have a whole lot going on in our garage. So it's easy to clean out. And so we get to meet our artist today. So that's pretty exciting. And I don't know if we'll get to actually see the other art spaces in town just because we're hosting. I don't know if we'll be able to leave and walk around. I hope so. I think there are at least a couple that are like near us, within our block, like one in our alley, I'm pretty sure, and then one pretty close by. So maybe we'll get to see them. So that's pretty exciting. It's almost like during the school year, it's so hard to carve out time on the weekends to do these kinds of things, like interesting, fun things like this, because you're just so tired. And it's just so easy to say, like, oh, I just want to sit around the house all day and do nothing. But I'm really glad we're doing this today. And I love meeting neighbors too. So I'm hoping, people will come by and check it out and we'll get to talk to some new people too. So anyway, should we get to stitching? Because I have, believe it or not, I have only 4 items to show you today, but I'm super excited about all 4 of them. So I think we should just get into it. So I'll start with a couple works in progress. And the first one is, well, I'll show you the cover of the pattern book. So this is Teresa Kogut's Come to the Garden. And here's what it looks like here. It's a really beautiful piece. So many pretty flower motifs on it. And that moth is really gorgeous. I showed this last month, and maybe the month before too is when I officially started it. So this is the one where I did a color conversion on it. So I'm making a kind of a night garden piece. And I worked the first half of August right before school started. This is all I worked on. So I'll show you the big piece bit from back here. So this is what it's looking like right now. And then I'll come in and show you a little close up here. So I basically did a DMC. This is all DMC, and I took each of the colors that were charted or called for, and I just kind of made a tonal conversion. So like instead of medium red, I chose medium blue, or instead of a deep, deep red, I chose a deep, deep blue. And then that's how I did the conversion. And then as I go along, motif by motif, I'm pretty much using my converted colors, except for every once in a while, I'll swap something out just because I feel like I want to try a different color combo or maybe have something else in mind. So that's what it's looking like. Isn't it so cute? And there's so many lovely motifs in this. So I think last time I had worked on like the top part of it. So you had probably seen this like celestial figure and the start of the border on the top and these flowers here. This is the darkest color on here is DMC 939, which is just one of my faves. I have like many of you do, I think you probably, like a lot of us, keep a lot of DMC 310 in stock, right? Or like whatever, you know, if you use sulky or whatever, you keep your black one in stock and then a white one in stock. DMC Blanc. I really like DMC 712. Also, it's cream, which is like an off-white. I keep extras of that on hand. And then I keep a lot of extras of DMC 939 on hand because sometimes you want to stitch something dark, but you don't quite want it as dark as a black. But I think 939 is a nice color substitute. You still get the dark tones without being like using a black tone. So that's what it's looking like. And I just love it. I could finish the moth this month. That's looking pretty good. Did I finish it? Wait, let me check. No, I didn't finish it. I have like a teeny tiny bit in one of the round bits on the bottom that I need to finish. I'm super close to finishing it. I started this vase down here that has kind of a vine going around it. I got a pretty good start to this motif here, this floral motif, which I just love. So that is DMC 939, the dark part. And then this lighter color in here, hang on, I have my whole... These are all the threads. I'm very unorganized with it this time. I haven't even like wound them onto bobbins. I'm just pulling it off as I use them. Very unorganized. But I can show you that lighter color is this DMC 341, which is really pretty. It's like a light blue violet almost. I really like that. So that's what it looks like when it stitches up. I mean, isn't that a beautiful color combo? This project is full of amazing color combos, like, let me hang on a sec, like DMC 939 and DMC 550 in these berries. That's a beautiful color combo. That warm brown, here, I'll show you in this. So like in this flower motif here, that warm brown is, it's DMC 3864, which I believe is my skin tone. The DMC 3860s, yeah, this is almost my skin tone. I think that's the one I'm using in my Dreaming Girl to kind of recreate my skin tone. But anyway, the DMC 3860s have these kind of flesh tone colors. And doesn't that actually look really good? Hang on, where are you able to see it? Yeah. So it's stitched there. We're talking about this motif right here. It's stitched up there with DMC 550, which is that beautiful bright purple, and then DMC 939, which is that dark blue. They look so good together. I mean, 3864, that brown looks amazing with like these brighter jewel tones like that with 550. I think it looks so good. So it's neat because all these colors are coming together in ways that I didn't really think about before. This basket here has two different browns. I want to say one of them is like 610 or 611. And I don't remember what the other one is, but that's really pretty too. That came out nicely. That kind of checkerboard pattern. And I love those little berries. That's more of DMC 550 there in those berries. So it's just coming along and I really am enjoying it. I'll show you one more look of just like the big one. That's what it's looking like. So I don't know if I'll continue on it this month in September because I'm feeling pulled towards some of my Halloween stitching and fall stitching in general. But if I do, I think I'd like to work some on the border because I didn't really do much. Like these bits that I've done already, this top border, I started in July, I think. So I didn't even work on the border this month. So I think it'd be fun to see. I really like that, like this whole motif here. I think that's gorgeous. That flower with the navy blue on the end, that's that DMC 939 again. I'd like to see more of those going all the way around. So if I do pick it up, I think that's what I'll work on. Okay, I'm gonna pause this for a sec and then I wanna grab my other whip. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have one more work in progress to show you, and this is, you're gonna recognize this one. It's Magical Menagerie by MarroomyCrafts. And here's what it's looking like right now. And this one I had to take out, of course, because Miriam released the final critter in the collection. and it was, I think it's Fussy Rooster, which is really beautiful too. It's got like these feathers that are kind of flipped to one side. It's very pretty. I'll see if I can throw a picture up somewhere. But I had a choice to make because I had this one last spot down here. So I had not picked a critter for this corner. So I wanted to see what the last critter was before I decided. So I settled actually on Zippy Dog, who I just fell in love with when she had released that pattern. And I'll throw a picture up. I like Zippy Dog a lot because the border is really pretty. It has like this interesting whole motif going on up here, like an extra border almost. I really love Miriam's border. Like all the borders are really fun to stitch on each of these. And but Zippy Dog, I feel like gives like even extra borders because I want to say it's like the legs of the puppy also have kind of interesting borders in them. So I was kind of drawn to that anyway. But I just wanted to see who that last critter would be just in case. So I had settled finally on Zippy Dog. So who have I finished? So Wonky Cat right here is finished. Lanky Camel right here is finished. Hazy Hen right here is finished. Next to Hazy Hen, I believe that's going to be Giddy Crabs with the that curly border going in. That's Giddy Crabs. You can see the head of Perky Lion coming in here. Funky Peacock I've started, but I need to finish. There's Wonky Cat again. And then the puppy's going in here. Zippy Dog's going in here. I love stitching on this, like these pretty motifs on the top. Oh, and then up here is Prickly Ram. Prickly Ram is actually probably my favorite one of the whole collection. So I knew I was going to put that one in. So anyway, I really am enjoying this. This is really fun. I like all the little like special motifs that go in, like in Lanky Camel. There's like this kind of sun motif and these little, I like that kind of thing. So I'm enjoying that one, and I'll just keep, chipping away at that one. I was really glad to have the last kind of component in there because I was curious about how it's going to look. Now I'm so happy. I think this is going to be awesome. So this is the one that I've talked about it before, but just in case you haven't seen any of the old videos, I started by choosing the first 4 motifs that came out and I centered them. So I decided to make them equidistant here in the center. But then I decided as more and more critters came out, I would just add them onto the sides, even though they're not all like quite equal in size. I think it's going to create a cool effect to have like different heights on the top and different lengths on the bottom, but they'll all be lined, that they'll be equally kind of lined in the middle. They'll have that equal spacing in the middle. So it's been a really fun one to do. So what am I using? Oh, I forgot to mention fabric on Come to the Garden. This is awesome fabric. And then I'll mention fabric on this one too. I have a needle in here I want to take out so I don't drop it. So this teal fabric from Come to the Garden is Lyrebird Dell from Fox and Rabbit, and it's just awesome. I think it's really cool. Like if you're nervous about experimenting with color, like different types of color fabrics, there are some color fabrics that I feel like just make nice, like neutral substitutes. Like you can think of them almost as a neutral. Like I think this is a really pretty, like it's not super bright, it's a muted tone. And I think a lot of pieces would look really pretty on this. Both dark and light colors look really good on it. It's almost a perfect match to, let me tell you, is it this one? No. It's almost a perfect match to DMC 926. So if you want to have an idea of what the color actually looks like, DMC 926 is like basically the identical color. And I figured it out because there's a little bit like this color is one of the colors I chose for a conversion for Come to the Garden. And then when I saw that it needed to be stitched on this fabric, I had to be kind of careful about using it because if I'm stitching just like a loose motif, like a leaf or something, it just won't show up. It's the identical color. So I'm using it in spaces where it's surrounded by other colors. So for example, on my little celestial person, the cheeks are 926. So see how that color is pretty similar to the fabric color? So I think it still works. I just have to be judicious about how I'm using it. So that's Lyrebird Dell. And then this one that I'm stitching the Magical Carpet Menagerie on is Fiber on a Whim. Wheat is the color, and this is an 18 count Ada. The Lyrebird Dell was a 36 count linen. I really like, I have something else I'm going to show you today is also on a Fiber on a Whim 18 count Ada, and I really like it. I think it's really pretty. It's got like a gentle modeling on it. I think it's super nice. I think these are nice neutrals. This is PR 132 Silks for You, and it just pops on there pretty nicely. And so Fiber on a Whim, I'm really enjoying their fabrics. This PR 32, let me see if I can find a spot where I can show you. Silks for You is just, I really enjoy stitching with Silks for You. And you think you're getting a single color, right? So PR 132 is basically a teal, but you're getting this gentle variegation in it that's just so, so pretty. And you don't really notice it until you stitch it up. Let me see if I can show you the hen. It may, so you're kind of seeing it. See how it looks kind of patchy, like in the tail of the hen? That's because when you get a Silks for You color, it variegates between, so like this is teal, right? So you're getting kind of a cloudy, matte looking teal variegated with a brilliant jewel tone looking teal. So you get a little bit of both. There's bits of it that are kind of cloudy and then bits of it that are sort of bright and jewel tone. So I really, really like that. Okay, so that was Magical Carpet Menagerie by Miriam, who is MarroomyCrafts. Okay, I have 2 new starts. Let me grab them and I'll show you in one sec. Okay, so I have 2 new starts, and the first one is a series, actually. It's a 4-part series by Summerhouse Stitchworks, and I wasn't sure I was going to start it. So let me show you the 2 parts that I have in front of me here. So it's a seasonal series. There's 1 piece for each season. So this is the first one that came out. It's Winter Cometh, and it's this bird here with a scarf on, which I think is really cute. And they all have this kind of these bars of different colors. See how like there's a vertical bar, so like there'll be a strip that's in one color and then the next color changes, and it kind of goes to, there are 3 different colors that are used in each one. So Winter Cometh was the first one. Spring Awakens is the second one, and I love that little bird with the umbrella there. And these are kind of interesting colors. This is actually a really dark teal here, like a dark gray green, and then a mustard and a flesh tone or like a pink. I liked those 3 colors together. It's kind of unusual. And I don't have it in front of me, so I'll have to throw up a picture maybe. The third one in the series was Summer Refreshes, I think is what it was called. And then I decided to start it because the last one, so Needlework Expo is coming up. I wasn't going to buy any patterns, but I picked out 3 that I want. And one of them is the 4th one in this series. It's, let me think for a minute. Autumn Provides. Autumn Provides is what it is. I'll put a picture up. I kind of wanted to wait and see what the 4th one looks like, because if for some reason I didn't, so they're all kind of like season and then verb, right? So if for some reason there was something I didn't like about that last one, then I was going to maybe just ditch the whole idea. My idea was to do all 4 on one piece of fabric. But then I thought, well, if there's one I don't like, I don't want to feel like I have to get it, you know, but I actually really like that last one. So I went ahead, and then when I decided to get that, I was like, well, let me get a couple other things. But I'm not going too crazy because this Needlework Expo, I was trying to not get anything at all. So I've settled on just 3 patterns I'm going to get. Nothing else though. No fabrics or anything. I have way too much other stuff. So I wanted to start this one because now that I've seen the 4th part, I'm actually pretty excited about it. So I'm using, it's all charted in DMC, and each one has 3 colors of DMC. So I have some of the called for colors, so I pulled those. And then for the others, I just made substitutions that were close enough, and I think it's going to be fine. I'm using a Fiber on a Whim. This is the other project for which I'm using Fiber on a Whim. And it's, let me think a second. It's not wheat. It's brown sugar. So let me open it up and show you. This is beautiful. I really love this fabric. It's what I can describe. So the color is called brown sugar. It's sort of, the base is like a beigey pink. And then it's got a gray-green like over dye on it. So the modeling is kind of a grayish green. So it's very marbled. It looks like a pink marble. Really, really pretty. I don't know, my light, with my light, I don't know if you'll see much of it, but. So I'll show you what I've started on. I want to fold it back up so I can just hold this small bit. Okay, so I started, this is actually you're seeing bits of winter and bits of spring. So this whole part here is the top of the spring one. So I'll show you the picture again. So like this top border here in the spring, starting here and then working this direction is what I've got going here. I'll show up a little closer there. So far, so good. And then this side is the beginnings. I decided to work down on this one just to see what it, like how far down it goes. It's really small. Like this is the bottom. So that's the top. I'm at the highest point where here, and I'm at the lowest point here. So it's actually, they're not very big. And so this fabric, I mean, I'll hold up the fabric and show you. It won't even take the whole fabric. It's going to be very small. Well, I'm not at the far end yet here. It probably goes to like right about here. So it's a little bit wider. So the width will be pretty wide, but the height won't be very, very high at all. So that's what we've got so far. And am I showing you the right side? I'm showing you the back side. Hang on a second. Here you go. That's the right side. So yeah, it works up pretty fast. My only like tiny beef with this is that I don't usually stitch with very light color fabrics. I think it's just like a hang up in my head about it, but I think I've convinced myself that darker tones of fabric, you know, I mean, there's reality to it, right? It shrinks a little bit with the dye, like during the dyeing process. So I kind of feel like if you're stitching on an 18 count Aida that's been dyed with a darker color, it's shrunk a little bit more. So the stitches are a little bit tighter. And the coverage is really good. Like the usual 2 strands of DMC that I use is really good. On here, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine coverage. But every once in a while, I get a stitch that doesn't feel like it's fully covering things. And I'm kind of convinced that it's because it's just a lighter fabric and it probably didn't shrink as much. So like when you're doing most of your stitching on an 18 count Aida that has probably had a little bit of shrinkage, then you get used, that's your idea of what you think an 18 count Aida should feel like. But then when you stitch on a lighter fabric, it hasn't shrunk quite as much. So it just has a different feel to it. So it's fine. You really notice it when you use dark colors on it, right? So like that's DMC 939 again, that dark navy blue. So that's where you really notice it. On the other colors, not as much. This is really pretty. This dark teal that I'm using right here is DMC 500. That's a very pretty dark green. I like that a lot. So I'll be working on that a little bit. I think these patterns, I really like them. I think you can be so creative if you like to play with color. I think these would be really fun to play with color on. Like for example, you could choose a color, like let's say you want to choose green. I feel like you could do the whole thing in greens. Like you could just pick a deep green, a medium green, and a light green and do the same, because that's what's going on. You have a really dark shade and then a medium shade and then a light shade. And if you don't want to do any of that, I feel like these could all be good monochromatic patterns. You could make like pick your favorite season, or if you want to gift it to someone, you know, who like pick their favorite season, like this winter one. I think that's so cute. And for people who stitch, like all of you tiny stitchers who stitch like 1/1 on 56 or whatever you all are doing that I can't do, these would make really cute ornaments, like a monochromatic ornament. Just stitch it in one color. So I feel like these are very versatile patterns. You can get a little bit creative with how you use them. Either playing with the bands of color and changing them out, or making it a monochromatic piece. I think there's some neat different options with these. There are also some tiny things that just keep it interesting. Like for example, in this winter cometh, there are these like quilt stars along the side, either side, and they're not quite identical. Do you see how like they don't quite match. Like the ones on the right side don't exactly match up to the ones on the left side. So you kind of have to follow the pattern to see. I sort of like that. There's something quirky about it, that it's not like perfectly symmetrical. So this has been pretty fun to work on. I'm enjoying that. Enjoying that one a lot. So these are once again, the chaos of my colors. I'll show you what they look like. So I've pulled colors for, did I pull colors for the autumn one too? I think I did. I pulled colors for everything. This is kind of what the different colors are. That the colors for summer are really beautiful. Let me see if I remember what they are. It's this pink and this purple, like a rosy pink, and then this kind of pale purple, pale lavender purple, and pale green. That's what they are. I mean, those are really pretty. They're almost springy colors, but they're in the summer pattern. Oh, I do have the autumn colors. Hang on, these two are definitely there. It's like a mahogany brown, and then this sort of coppery, no, is it coppery? No, it's kind of like a golden brown, like a honey. And then what is the last one? It could be this 680. More of like a true golden kind of color. So that's really pretty too. They look so warm, don't they, for autumn colors? So I'm excited to do that one. And I don't think those will take very much time either, because there are a lot of I mean, I like these kinds of patterns because they're not full coverage. There are bits that are full coverage, like the bird is going to take a little while to do, but mostly there's a lot of gaps. It's just loose motifs, so I think it'll come along really quickly. Plus, there's like a little bit of, I enjoy some letter stitching. I didn't always, but I feel like I've come around to that. So there's some nice alphabets to stitch too. That's been fun. Okay, I have one more new start to grab. Let me get that. Be right back. Okay, so we're down to the fourth piece, which is the only other piece I have to show you. School's just been so busy. To be quite honest, I just get home in the evenings, and if I don't have more work to do for school, I just crash. I just like fall on the couch, and I've been going to sleep at like 8. It's just so exhausting. You forget how you go from like, I know most people say you go from 0 to 60 on things, but you go from that's what it is. That's what it is. For summer, we're like so calm. We reach a level of calm in the summer, and then like day one, there's like 100 things in your to-do list right from day one. So anyway, I'm grateful to have had even these 4 pieces to stitch on, and I want to show you this last one. So the last one is actually a new start from Anna, from Peruvian Flair, Anna Aguayo. And Anna is like such a sweet person. I don't know if you've met her or ever like tried to message her on Instagram. She is just the nicest person. And of course, she's the only person who on her birthday will send you something. So she sent me, we had such a late night at school. I was at school till 9 p.m. for an event one day, and I was so tired. I had been there since like 6:30 in the morning. It was the longest day. And then I got home, and I was just checking my email, and I got a message from Anna, and she's like, well, it was my birthday and I finished a big project, and I thought you should, I want to give you a copy of the pattern. So this is her new Chimu birds, which I have to put a picture up. Anna finished a gorgeous, gorgeous version of this. So she used the bright fabric that she's using is some of the new fabric by Jessie from Mislaid Pages that I'm just dying to try some of that. It looks so good. You ought to go, like, just go look at Mislaid Pages. I'll link below. Some of the current fabric that's on there is this beautiful blue and green, like heavily kind of tie-dyed fabric. It is so gorgeous. It almost looks like some kind of like precious stone that's been polished or something. It looks geological, and it's so pretty, so pretty. And there are a couple of really nice ones. There's a blue and purpley, no, a pink and purpley modeled one that I actually almost thought about getting, but it's the one that I like is only available in 56 count, and I've never stitched. Have you ever stitched on 56 count over 2? I'm kind of curious about that actually, if any of you do that. Because my go-tos are usually 18 count Aida, 36 count, I stitching over 2 on 36 count, and recently 40 count over 2. 56 count sounds kind of intimidating to me. Like, like for example, I'm not a super fan of stitching on 25 count. So is that a similar experience, do you think? Or I'm curious to know if any of you stitch on 56, let me know. Of course, if you say it's a great experience, I'm gonna run out and get one of those fabrics to try, but trying to not buy fabrics and threads for right now. Anyway, so Anna did hers on like a beautiful multicolor fabric from Jessie, and then like in a genius way used black over that, because that's another thing I've kind of wondered about. Like, what do you do with one of those fabrics that has just so many colors going on? I think probably a lot of people stitch like Bella Filipinas or Mirabilias on them because they like the figure themselves has a lot of color going on. So then whatever happens in the background maybe is, it doesn't conflict with the motif. But I do a lot of monochromatic pieces. So I'm always wondering like, oh, what color would actually look good? What color thread could you use? And Anna used, I guess, DMC 310 on it. I'm not sure, but it's a black thread. It looks amazing on that multicolor fabric. So I, of course, wanted to start this fabric or this pattern to Chimu birds is what it's called. And it's based on a textile from the Chimu people. So a lot of Anna's patterns, she researches cultures that were pre-Incan. So the Chimu people were pre-Incan, but she will use like research artifacts that were left behind from these peoples, and then use those motifs in her patterns. So there was some kind of Chimu textile that she used as the inspiration for this. So let me show you mine. I wanted to do just like Anna did. So I thought, okay, well, let me also use a super bright fabric. I'm sure I have one in my stash, wish I did. And then try a dark thread on it. So here's what I settled on. So this is the fabric. Isn't it fantastic? So I don't know what this count or name of the fabric is, but I have some suspicions. So it's from a Color and Cotton grab bag. So when you get a grab bag from Color and Cotton, you can choose, I think you can choose, is it like a lower count linen grab bag or a higher count linen grab bag? Is it a lower count linen Ada or a higher count linen Ada? So knowing me, I probably got a higher count linen Ada, but then it could be anything between a 16, 18, or 20 count that you get in there, and it's not labeled. The colors aren't labeled and the counts aren't labeled. I'm guessing that this is a 16 count because the stitches feel kind of big to me. And I'm using, it's no way it's going to show up on my camera, but it just looks amazing. I suspect this, by the way, I suspect this fabric is either like cantaloupe or papaya, because I knew that Color and Cotton released colors like that. So I'm wondering if it's one of those, but I'm not sure because it didn't have a label on it. Okay, so on top of this, the thread I'm using, what does it look like to you? Does it look brown? Because what it actually is DMC 154. I don't know if you know that color. Do I have it here? Yes, I do. So DMC 154 is actually, the official name is called like something like ultra very dark grape. It's purple. It's like a burgundy wine color, dark purple. And so I'm putting that on this, and I absolutely love it. That's what I chose as my dark toned floss on bright fabric. So I really like how it's come out. Isn't it so pretty? So it's like these motifs moving diagonally, and they'll be repeated throughout to make a square. I absolutely love it. This is so, so fun to stitch on. I love the color combo. I think I'm enjoying this a lot. It's really easy. Stitching on Ada is just so much easier, and it moves really quickly. I wonder if I should have maybe tried a sulky on this, but the stitches feel too big. I think it's a 16 count, so I don't know. Usually with sulky, I find either 40 count linen or 20 count Ada is kind of the sweet spot, and sometimes an 18 count Ada. So from far away, it looks like this. I think the effect is really pretty. I like that. So very much enjoying that one. Thank you, Anna, for that pattern. That's very generous of you. And that has brought some great joy to me. This is what I can show you the packaging so when you get a fabric grab bag. See, it just says Ada. Although when you choose it, like there's a little bit more detailed description, and it will say, well, it could be anything between a 16 and 18 count, or if you choose the lower count Ada, it'd be like 14 to 16 count maybe. Speaking of textiles, Anna created this off of a Chimu textile. Anna's patterns always come with like a really nice description. There's like a narrative about the cultural information, which is really nice. And then you like go Google it and learn lots more about the culture too. But speaking of textiles, there is a fantastic exhibit going on right now at the Museum of Contemporary Art here in Chicago. So if you're in the Chicago area or in the Midwest and you can get to Chicago, it closes, I think, early October. But anyway, it's the Nick Cave exhibit, not Nick Cave, the musician. We have a local artist here in the Chicago area named Nick Cave. He was actually, or maybe still is, faculty on the at the School of the Art Institute. And so he's a local artist, and his specialties are kind of representing Black queer voices, and then also using found objects. And his exhibit was so fascinating. But he does this thing. One of the series of pieces that he's known for are these sound suits. I'll see if he has one on his Instagram page, and I'll try. Actually, can I look? No, I'll look and see if he's got a picture on his Instagram, and I'll put it up here. He created these pieces called sound suits, and they were a reaction to in '91 when Rodney King was beaten by the police, and he had this. He'd been thinking about that, like how does a person, especially a Black person, feel safe and protected, but also have the space to outwardly be who they just naturally are and who they are meant to be. Do they have to be in hiding, or can they truly be who they are without being, in unsafe spaces? So he created these sound suits, and he uses all these found objects, like lots of different types of textiles, beads, sequins. There's like crocheted doilies in there, cross stitch pieces. So he like creates these like vibrant, like just crazy patchwork pieces, and they're meant to be worn. They're like performance costumes. So I think he actually does performance pieces sometimes, but at this exhibit he had only had them on display, so you could see them, but they were just the coolest things. And I think they're supposed to, if I'm correct, they're supposed to symbolize the idea that like you can wear an armor on you that also outwardly projects the brilliance and the creativity of who you are. Like you can be yourself, project yourself, but also create something that protects you. So they're just amazing, and it was so cool. Like if you love, I know you love textiles because you're here, and it was just amazing to see. Like you could just look at every inch of every one of those sound suits, and you just see like the most unexpected things. Like I said, crocheted bits were on there, knitted bits were on there. There was definitely cross stitch, a lot of beading, a lot of like pieces of probably like old beautiful costumes or sequined gowns that were cut up and put on there. He had even worked in like, do you, or maybe your parents or grandparents, like my mom has like these little porcelain bird, like little porcelain bird. They're not sculptures, but kind of figurine sort of things that you just keep and show off in her little showcase. He had even worked in like birds from those kinds of things. So it was like a total exploration of found objects, symbolizing like the projection of just being beautiful and being okay to be beautiful in whatever way that is for you. And so I thought it was amazing. So check out Nick Cave. I'll put their Instagram page below too, because that's not, the sound suits were not the only thing on display, but that's a big part. I think he's known for those. And then, yeah, it was just so cool. And it was the kind of thing where so many pieces in that exhibit, you just thought about them for, like even now I think it just makes me think about a lot of different things. So it's a very thought-provoking exhibit to check out. And so I'll also link, I'll see if the Museum of Contemporary Art here has like maybe a write-up I can put down below, or I'm sure you can Google Nick Cave artist on YouTube too and just see some interviews. He's a living artist, you can see and hear from him, like from his own words. He has so many interesting things he talked about. Like his grandma taught him to do macrame when he was a child. So he would just like as a child make outfits out of macrame. And that's how he started his first sound suits. He was just kind of sitting in these parks and thinking about life and how could he feel safer with things going on. And he would just pick up like twigs or leaves and just start working them together to make things. And that's what gave him the idea of like what protects us, but what also allows us to show our beauty. So I think that was super interesting. So check out interviews with him. And also it's just kind of interesting. Do you ever get, like I was telling Steve, my partner, it's kind of interesting to see someone else's created objects used as a found object and then repurposed. Do you know what I mean? Like looking at those like crochet doilies, it's like, wow, somebody made those doilies and you'd never think they'd be, I don't know what, they're probably like sitting in a thrift store somewhere. And then this person repurposed them into something with such a powerful message. So I just think that's interesting for us all. We're all stitchers and we stitch a lot and all of this stuff is going to end up somewhere. And like, I don't have kids, so it's not going to my kids. And I don't know if my nephews will want it or who will want it. So it's just sort of interesting to think about, well, like where it serves a purpose with us. And then it's just interesting to think of the possibilities of what other purposes will it serve down the road too. So anyway, I'll link some stuff below about that if you're interested in that. But Anna talking about textiles got me on that, just thinking a lot more about textiles and textiles through the years, and how they further inspire people in ways that you wouldn't have even predicted when the creator was alive. So anyway, rambling a bit. Hope everyone's doing okay. That's it. That's all I got. Thanks for hanging around today. I'm going to go tidy all this up, edit this video. Do I have plans? Actually, I'll show you one other piece because yes, I do have a plan and I pulled it aside. Actually, I'm going to pause here. Let me go grab it. It's a little bit out of my reach. Be right back. Okay. I was almost done, but I did pull out one thing I can show you. So, two things actually. I have something sitting right here. So this week I was walking in the neighborhood and I saw my first fallen leaf. I pick up fall leaves all the time. It's like my favorite fall activity to do, just walk around and find really pretty leaves. And so this one's kind of early because still being August, it usually takes us a little while longer to find leaves. But the second I picked this up, it just made me think like, oh, I want to take out all my fall stitching and try to see if I can finish something before Halloween this year. So I was thinking I ought to work on my All Hallows Eve, my Quaker pumpkins. So I pulled that out to kind of show you again. I didn't work on it this month at all. This is the one that is by Liz Matthews. And a lot of people, tons and tons of people are stitching on this one. I did a sulky conversion. So I used some different oranges and pinks and corals. And I don't know if I wouldn't say that I'm close to finishing it, but maybe I could chip away at it and get closer. And the reason I've had this on my mind too is because this fabric, oh gosh, I don't have it. Hang on a second. Let me see what it is. It is, no, I don't have the label, but you're going to know because I told you last week or last month. It's a needle and flax, I think. And it's called All the Things. Am I right? Or is it Mystic? I think it's Mystic Fabrics. It's Mystic Fabrics and it's called All the Things. That's what it is. I know Sarah, my stitchy friend Sarah is probably shouting it to me because she has a piece of this too. So this was one of the fabrics that I picked up at StitchCon. And I picked up a whole, a whole half yard of it. So I'm barely using it, like even a quarter of it to do this. So the other half is totally free. And what I think I'm going to do is save it for one of my 3 expo purchases was the Liz Matthews Autumn Cloche pattern. It's beautiful. I'll put it up here. You've seen it already, but if you haven't, I'll put it up here. But basically it has a lot of these same oranges and like pinky tones in it. So I think I'm just going to use the same colors. The sulky conversion that I did, I'm just going to use the same, like whatever I have left over and try to see if I can do that pattern as well. and I'll use the other half of this fabric. So they'll be kind of like companion pieces. They'll look like they belong together, hopefully, although this one's Quakery and that was not, but I think it'll be fine. So I'm hoping to chip away at this one a little bit this month. That's what I will do for plans. And then whatever else, just I usually tend to stitch whatever feels right. I don't really make too many plans or like schedule stitching. So beyond that, I don't have too many big plans. So I think that's where I'm officially going to leave you today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope to connect with you as usual through comments or messages or emails. A couple of you email, and I love to hear from you there too. And I got to reach out to some people too. And I hope everyone's doing okay, and happy end of summer stitching. I'll check back in with you at the end of September. And in the meantime, I hope to see you on Instagram and down here in the comments. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.